Perfect. So, look, I just thought I'd start off by saying, first and foremost, thank you very much for coming down
No
and doing this
problem,
with me. I watched a lot of content on you, and I thought your story was just incredible. So, for me, it was just a no-brainer to get this done.
Appreciate it, man.
But I always start off like this. But who is Amani Simpson?
Do you know what? I'm just a member of the human family, man. I believe that I'm one of God's children, and I've got a responsibility to do something. But if you want like a human answer,
Yeah.
I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm a youth ambassador. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a husband, and yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's your early life like? So, what's your background? Where are you from? Where did you grow up? And sort of what were your early influences as you were growing up in life?
Okay, so I'm from a two-parent household in North London, and the reason I say that is because I think sometimes we hear statistically that there's one parent, but my mum and dad, they showed me love from young. They showed me what it was like to love each other. I had quite a good upbringing. School wasn't so good for me, but just in terms of the different things I experienced when I was younger. But I would say kind of my early home life was the best environment for a young person to thrive. Yeah.
So it was generally quite sheltered. You didn't feel like you were from a struggling background. It was
No.
generally quite going quite well.
Yeah, I'd say for me, my mum and dad didn't really show me any struggle. I know that they did struggle. We lived in quite a nice area, and I know they worked hard to get there, but then it was still kind of maintaining it. It was still quite difficult for them to kind of live a lavish lifestyle. But we weren't poor.
Yeah.
My dad worked for Alan Sugar
Okay.
at Amstrad, so I always say he should have really been my role model in school if I'd had more time to speak to him, and instead of getting in trouble and stuff like that. And my mum was an entrepreneur, so she kind of has a blinds and curtains company.
Okay.
And she's always just been a grinder, so I've kind of got different elements from both of them.
Okay, so that's interesting to hear, because I guess from me looking at your story over the last few years, you wouldn't necessarily think that was the background you were coming from, but it's amazing to hear that. What sort of influences then would you say when you were becoming a teenager, a young kid at school, what sort of influences initially impacted you to mold your character?
Do you know what? I would definitely say that like I grew up in the grime era.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So like being in school and it was just like Skepta, JME, Wiley, Scorcher, Wretch 2, The Movement, all of these different kind of people that you're watching, like all these Clashes, Axe FM,
Lord of the Mic.
Yeah. Like, so that was what was in our everyday conversation. At home, my mum and dad, my family are Christian, so it was a lot of church, like prayer meetings and stuff regular. I didn't necessarily oppose it. I think it was just part of my upbringing, but I think I never really kind of invested myself in a relationship with God. It was very much like, just going to church on a Sunday, or come home and there's bare people in your front room for a prayer meeting.
Yeah.
So yeah, those were my influences, I'd say.
It's like we were speaking just before this. We sort of just get born into the idea of going to church, but we never really find it ourselves. So
and you got to ask questions. If you don't ask questions, then how can you kind of really wholeheartedly say that you believe something? So
100%. And at what point would you say you did start asking those questions?
After I got stabbed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You tend to ask some very, some very real questions when you're fighting for your life. And I just remember kind of having this very real conversation with God that, I say real, it was very surreal, to be honest. It was like it felt like an internal conversation, but it also felt like I was aiming my conversation externally as well. So it was very much like, what do you stand for? Like, how could I die? I need to live. You need to give me another chance. I've never been married. I've, haven't achieved certain things. And it was just literally like, I to get another chance, I just pleaded for my life, and I got it. And so I think in that moment, it was then, okay, I can see that this, to me, is a tangible thing. And then, I started to go to a church and just asked the pastor loads of questions before I got baptized, because I was just like, you know what, I want to dedicate myself to what I believe in and my creator, but I can't do that without asking some questions. So yeah, that was kind of the process I had to go through.
Obviously, that's a massively life-changing, huge, impactful thing that's happened in your life. We sort of skipped a bit from school to when you got to there. Like, we just jumped straight away. But
it wasn't overnight.
What was the sort of how did it lead into that? Because I was sort of obviously I've watched the film, it was portrayed, but I feel like there's a lot of things that were skipped over. How did it go from school to ending up in that situation?
So to be fair, the film is pretty accurate.
Okay.
There's a lot that has that was correct. So the whole getting kicked out of school. I got expelled from 2 schools.
Wow.
I left with no GCSEs.
Wow.
Not because I was stupid, but I just didn't apply myself. Like I walked out of my business exam. I walked in high. Didn't care about business and walked out.
And I've met you a couple of times now, and you're an intelligent guy.
Wow,
so
you,
you've got no GCSEs,
but that they just what I mean. It's very much like that's only part of the story, and that's why I always encourage young people. It's like you have to do your best in school, but that doesn't mean that you can't turn it around. So I went back later on and got qualifications, but once I kind of had done certain things on the roads and robberies and county lines, drug selling, all that kind of stuff, I reflected and said, I'm not happy with who I am and the direction that I'm moving in, and made some critical choices, to call my dad and ask for forgiveness to come back home. Then when I came home to actually go back into college and engage in learning, and I always say when a student is ready, the teacher appears. And I found a mentor, and that mentor, his name was Fusion, and he just literally kind of took me under his wing and showed me the game, showed me like the potential that I had. And then from there, I went to another college in Haringey, and just did quite a lot more of like personal development, personal growth, all the way from the age of about 16 to about 21.
Okay. And you were still with Fusion during that time
Fusion,
as well?
I stopped working with him probably when I was about 17, 18, so probably about a year and a bit. He was my mentor.
Mentoring you on what exactly? What was that relationship?
It was more like, I think the best way to describe it is he was like, he started off as a teacher.
Okay.
And then he became like the kind of person that would help me in business. So he was putting me in positions where I would then lead, and he helped me to set up my first company. Like I was part of the company that he set up, and he kind of put me in a position of like maybe like a lieutenant. So I would then bring together other young people and kind of lead and be the one. So from early, he put me in positions where it's like, Amani, I want you to run this section of it. I'm going to go out and do this, and I want you to run that. And then he would recommend me for other different opportunities and stuff like that. Like I worked at Jump Off TV for quite a while, but for a period of time. Other different places, putting on our own events. And then when I stopped working with him for a period of time, and that was just like, I think when I reflect, it was just kind of immaturity on my behalf. I didn't necessarily appreciate what he was doing for me, and therefore I made some rash decisions. And we've reconciled since then. But at the same time, when you're younger, it's still kind of like, wow, like this is what I've done for you, and how are you going to do me like that?
Basically throwing it back in my face
to a certain extent. But that's what you do sometimes when you're younger. And also, I don't take it back because it's allowed me to be where I am and where he is. Otherwise, we could have maybe just been kind of comfortable in that space and not actually gone out and done what we need to do. There's pros and cons in everything. But yeah, long story short, was doing events, promoting under the brand that I created when I was 18 called Aviard.
Aviard. I listened to an interview. Aviation and hard, right?
Yeah, there you go. My guy.
I like that. I like that joint. That joint. Yeah.
Thank you. So. For anyone that doesn't know, it's basically aviation is a compound of 2 words. Sorry, Aviard is a compound of 2 words, aviation and hard. And it's all about, elevating your mind to fly hard in the direction of your goals and just do what you need to do. So, we were doing events, under 18 parties. And then one day I forgot my purpose. I forgot that I had a beautiful girlfriend at home that was, riding for me, that my family relationship was starting to improve. And I just got drawn back into an argument with somebody and got stabbed 7 times. And so, I say it like it's nothing, but, it's that one lapse of judgment that could potentially kind of end your whole existence and change the course of your life. And so, now I look back, it's been a blessing to have gone through that and to still be here. But I don't wish it on anybody because many people don't survive physically and mentally after something like that. So it's a blessing to be the man that I am today.
I mean, just listening to that is incredible to sort of see how not nonchalant you are about it, but just sort of it's part of your life and you've almost used that to empower everything you've done moving forward. But just that night when it did happen, I have to ask, like, as it was happening, what was going through your mind as it was happening? Because I just have to...
Do you know what? That's a very good question.
Yeah, I think as it's happened, I'm just curious to know.
Do you know what? You just kick into survival mode. Like I made some ridiculously stupid but smart choices that night. It's crazy. It's like So for example, where I was standing, the guy, there was like a group of like maybe 10, 15 boys. No, in fact, more than that. It's about 15, 20 boys. There's loads of them. And I made the decision, instead of running up the road, which would now in hindsight have been a dead end, I kind of tried to bob and weave through them to try and get to the high road. I don't know why, but instinct kicked in. And I remember even when he first kind of like hit me with the knife, like my brain just kicked in. It was just like run. And I just started to kind of move. And it was just like, even in all of those different situations, it was just, there was something guiding my actions, because I could have just stayed there and kind of curled up in a ball. But I think maybe, and again, in hindsight, maybe getting rushed in school and getting beaten up and pushed around helped me to kind of learn how to defend myself in that situation. I think, I'm not saying that everything is all aligned, you do make choices, but definitely it made me kind of,
it definitely kicked in.
Something kicked in that made me survive, because I could literally have like just frozen, as many people do, and just become another statistic, a victim of my circumstance. And to be fair, even talking about the situation, it was my fault for getting involved in it. I should have just said, that's got nothing to do with me. But I hope you lot sort out whatever you lot are arguing about. Bro, I'll chat to you tomorrow. But instead, I went and got myself in the thick of this thing. One man up.
Were you trying to defend someone else who was?
What was it? Yeah and no. So okay. So the real story, obviously, the film is slightly different, but the real story is, I was out promoting for an event that we had coming up, an under 18 event. Someone's bike had been stolen outside the club. I knew the person; he was a family friend. And instead of getting in the car and minding my own business, I basically got sucked into this argument, this situation, because someone outside had said, "Oh, the boys are still in the area," but he jumped in his car with like 5 of his boys. Okay. So I was the 6th man. There was no necessarily any need for me to be there. And where I'd parked my car, I was driving my dad's Volvo, and obviously it's a big back, long. That car's ugly. In the scheme of pulling up outside a club, it's not the nicest car. Anybody. So I'd parked it 3 or 4 roads away from the club, and so I'd run over to my over to my car in order to get like almost involved into the situation. But that wasn't my mission. My mission was leave your house, hand out the flyers, get back. Got you. I was playing Monopoly with my little sister and my little cousin from America before I left, and I was like, "Oh, snap, guys, I need to leave. Like the club's gonna finish in a minute. I'll be back in a minute." Got you. Yeah. So it wasn't like I left my house looking for anything. I had a mission, and so that's why I say, it was my fault, because I should have just said, "You man, I hope you get it sorted out." And maybe the situation would have been different. Maybe one of them would have got stabbed instead. But it's one of those things. Just how it is. That's how it goes.
Wow. So that event happened. I watched obviously a few interviews where you said you definitely suffered from sort of PTSD after that. And how long did that period last before you were able to pick yourself back up?
Jeez, that's a very good question as well. I would say it's a very good question. I got stabbed in July 2011, just before the riots. I would say the PTSD was probably 2-3 years after. Something like that. Maybe about 2-3 years. It was little things. It was things like having low self-esteem, having flashbacks. It was obviously a lot more severe just after it happened. Of course, yeah. But then there was little habitual things that I kind of like took on. So things like not having my back to a door. As soon as I go out to eat in a restaurant with my girlfriend, she knew Amani's got to have his back to the wall so that he can scope everyone that's kind of coming in and out of the restaurant. And so it was little things like that. And I think, as I was saying to you again before off air, building my property business and being like the person that was cold calling and, having to kind of build something from scratch, like investing my energy in that helped me to build self-resilience and investing in self-help books and, different circles of people. Otherwise, I probably would have been broken, to be honest with you, because something like that, it changes you. There's no two ways about it. It definitely affects the wiring in your head, and it's up to you to then kind of like overstand it and kind of fight back from it. And I'm just blessed that I was able to get through that chapter. Really.
Can you talk about some of the books that you did read?
Oh yeah,
a lot of my listeners love sort of things they can take away. But what sort of books would you say had a big impact on your life at that time? Because I'm a big reader as well.
So you guys, make sure you got a pen right now. We've got books like Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
Powerful book. You've got
Is that Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill. You've got Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. You've got the 7 highly effective habits. No, yeah. The 7 habits of highly effective people.
Okay.
That's another one. You've got I read this later, but it's a brilliant book, The Compound Effect. Brilliant book. And also The Slight Edge. Books like The 50th Law of Power by 50 Cent, or The 48 Laws of Power, the original one. The Richest Man in Babylon.
You're dropping gems right now.
Gems, there's books, there's loads. Trying to think what else. And then just watching motivational clips, things like, you know, people like Eric Thomas or Tony Robbins or
for me, I'm a big Will Smith fan.
Will Smith, those kind of videos. Yeah. You know, if you're gonna outrun me on a treadmill, like
exactly.
Either I die or I win, that kind of mentality. Les Brown, all of these different people that just kind of helped to shift the way that I saw the world and the way that I saw myself. And The Secret. How can I forget The Secret? The Secret was the first book.
A lot of people mention that one. I'm still even yet to open
The Secret. So I'll tell you who showed me. So we met obviously at my god sister Jamilia's Treasure Tress launch. I think her celebration. Sorry.
Yeah.
And she was the one that showed me about that. Okay. So her and her girlfriends, when they were younger, they had this DVD of The Secret. And I was like, yo, like, girls, what are you lot watching? And I personally would attribute, I'm sure when you speak to her again, ask her, but I'm sure that had something to do with the way that she kind of started to shift her mindset and many of them as well. And so I kind of borrowed it from them at one point. And it's crazy the way that you kind of attract things to yourself, positive and negative. And I learned that was like the foundational things that I started to listen to and engage with. So that was really the season of growth, like between 18 and 21. And so I think by the time I got stabbed at 21, it was like, okay, this is a bad situation, but you could be like in such a worse place mentally. So I think that's how I bounce back quicker than maybe someone that is in a turbulent environment, doesn't necessarily have that kind of self-resilience already. Like I already had some steps.
Did you have much family support at that time as well?
I did and I didn't. So
because I'm just interested to sort of see what your close network of friends and family were like at that time.
I did and I didn't. So I say that not to disrespect anyone like that was around me at the time, but I think they didn't know how to handle it. So I had friends that, you know, I really wanted to be kind of close with, and you know, I guess I wanted a bit more affection. But it kind of transpired that, you know, I did like a celebration and none of them actually asked me how you're doing. Like they all kind of came and involved in their own conversations and kind of avoided me. And at the time, it really hurt me. But I think as I get older, I'm like, actually, what do you say to someone that's just been stabbed 7 times? And it did kind of cause a rift in between us. But I think, you know, generally in terms of my friendship groups, I had good friends at the time. There were people that were aspiring for good things, but then just slowly little things kind of pulled us apart. My family, my mum and my dad, like we'd already had a turbulent relationship from my teenage years. So there was, you know, steps that we were making to make it easier. But at the same time, it wasn't ever kind of like, we basically couldn't live together at a certain point. As much as I was living in the house, it was always arguments. It was always some kind of drama, some kind of headache, because we just built up that habit as a family of that's the way we deal with things instead of communicating properly. So I actually got.
I feel that's a case of a lot of black families, isn't it? Because I sometimes got that a little bit of my family where I just can't really open up and communication is always so poor. But
and I think part of it as well is that, you know, especially in black families, especially I can't speak for any other heritage, but you know, I think that discipline, like beating or grounding or whatever, comes before let's sit down and talk.
Exactly.
And I think it's something that we definitely have to change. I'm not saying there isn't space for discipline. I'm not saying beating, but I think that, you know, when it comes to that level of engagement with our parents and us as children, there was like many, many different things that were missed because, we didn't communicate well. And then, so I kind of got kicked out of my house, not because I got stabbed, but because of my attitude and how I was doing. So after I had to go and basically move out. And then my girlfriend at the time had gone to uni. She went to uni in Northampton, and that was like a work, because that was my world. Like I'd invested so much time in her that it actually like kind of was very, very difficult for me to not have her there. But then in the process of that, obviously not having a relationship with my mum and dad, I built a relationship with her mum and dad and her sister.
Okay.
And then slowly started to build a relationship with my little sister, who's not in the film, but I've got a little sister, and loads of different things. So I'd say that the network was what it needed to be for me to grow.
I got you.
I can't say I needed anything more, I needed anything less.
Everything and you wouldn't change the past?
No. I wouldn't. The only thing I would do is I'd take away the pain that I caused other people, and the pain that I was caused. If I could do it with complete kind of immunity of feeling and having no effect, just kind of going through life, dealing with exactly what I dealt with, knowing that, okay, cool, next step, this is what you need to do, for me to be the man I am today, I'll do it in a heartbeat again, because I see the impact that what I've experienced will have on the next generation, and I take it on my shoulders, so it is what it is.
And I just feel like ever since that moment, from what I've seen as an outsider looking in, it's just gone from strength to strength to strength, and you're still incredibly young, and so much has happened.
How old do you think I am?
I can't remember. I think you told me. I think you said late 20s, right?
Yeah, I'm 30 in March.
30 in March, yeah. So in my eyes, because I'm 28, I still think the older I've gotten, the more I've realised actually late 20s is still really young.
Yeah, it's young, man.
Like you're just starting out in life, you're just finding your feet.
Started, bro.
Literally just started. So I feel like it's been such an incredible journey, but there's still so much more to give.
Yeah, man.
If we can just talk about that period from the property business to obviously establishing AVR and then getting into the film, and just so much has happened. But I guess first and foremost, the property business to start off with.
So I'll give you like a little brief overview.
Yeah.
So the property business was really my it's what I did after I got stabbed. I shut down AVR at the time because I was quite scared about, loads of different things. Again, all part of that self-esteem. I was wearing an AVR t-shirt the night I got stabbed. So in my head, I was just like, you know what? Maybe these boys are going to see me again and see me trying to do it. And I didn't know them. So I was just, my brain was doing so much paranoid things that, I just didn't want to be anything to do with that, anything.
Yeah.
So I just invested time in learning property. I kind of started watching Homes Under the Hammer.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, when the teacher's ready, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
And an estate agent opened up at the top of my mum's road.
Okay.
And it said, letting negotiator wanted. And I walked in and blagged it. And I just said, look, I'll work here for free. I just want to learn the game.
With no degree,
nothing.
No
I just
A levels.
Learn the game.
Wow.
I said, look, I can do it. I can sell. I've been doing it. Luckily for me, their operation wasn't as kind of like a Foxton's.
Yeah.
It was like a bit more of like a family organization, but they knew what they were doing. And so I learned the basics and then added flavor to it. And then I found another mentor called Adam, who was like a big brother. He was like, and I know you won't mind me saying this, but he was like, he was the roadest agent I've ever seen in my life. Like he was just like so raw in what he was doing. But that's what I needed. I needed a big brother. It's like me being on road. I always kind of refer to it similar to like me shotting or something like that. Like he was like my older. So he would but he was leading me to positive things. So he was showing me like, this is nice. Don't deal with agents, landlords like that. And you got to be on point, and you got to have your insurance.
He was road, but he was wise at the same time.
What I'm saying. So after I met Adam and he gave me his beautiful card.
Yeah.
It was just like one step at a time, just different people stepping into my life and giving me wisdom, and building relationships with landlords and seeing how to do things, how not to do things, losing clients, and then saying I'm never going to do that again, being done out of money, having tenants, like all loads of different things that I kind of.
He just taught you the ropes.
Yeah, not even necessarily him, just the experience itself, just being there present and like investing the energy into learning it. And then kind of worked up to working with Adam in his shop. He had a high street shop at the time.
Is this all in North London?
North
as well,
London.
Yeah?
This was in Crouch End or Hornsey High Street.
Nice area as well, actually. Yeah, Crouch End, like Muswell Hill, like all those parts. Yeah.
So it was nice. Like, and driving there, I felt good, wearing suits every day. And then one day Adam left, and then I took over the shop. So I had the shop and a team of people in there. And then one day, this young boy that used to come and say hello to me every morning, he's like, "Yeah, you're right, boss." Like one day he just didn't say hello, and I saw him. I was just like, but he just kind of turned his head and walked down the road. And something in my spirit just said, "Go and run after him and talk to him." And I just dropped my phone. I was like, "Oh, cool, be back in a minute." Ran out of the shop. And I said, yo, what's going on, bro? And he said, oh, I just been expelled from school. And he's just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm proper disappointed in myself for getting kicked out. And I just felt his heart. And I was just like...
You must have been able to see yourself.
That's exactly. I felt that. I felt it. Do you know what I mean? I felt what he was saying. And I said, do you want a job, bro? Do you want some work experience? And he said, yeah. And I said, all right, cool. I said, what shirt size are you and everything? I bought him a suit.
Oh, wow.
Bought him a laptop and just taught him the game for like maybe 6 months, 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's
crazy, man. Like, honestly, that's such a nice thing to do to somebody who's just been
But
expelled.
people did it for me.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not when I was expelled, but at different stages of my life, people stepped in and were like the older brother figures to me or the mentors to me. So long story short, I did that for X amount of time with him, maybe about 3 or 4 months, maybe about 4 months or so, working with his mum and stuff. And then I just decided that this is what the kind of thing I wanted to do. I just set my heart on it. And I actually remember, funny enough, we're talking about church. I actually remember being in church at the time. And the pastor said, if Jesus was alive right now, he wouldn't just be sitting in church every Sunday getting a sermon.
Okay.
He'd be active on the road, being the light, being the example, not trying to preach to people, just living it. And I was like, rah. I've never looked at it like that before. I was like, okay. And so then that sparked
practice
in my...
what you preach, basically.
Exactly. And then it sparked in my head, okay, so then go out and do what you need to do. You've turned your life around. You've come through something traumatic where you needed. Like, go to where you're needed, basically. And so...
I was just about to ask that, actually. I guess sort of finding your purpose in a way.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't come to everyone, obviously. But
your purpose, I feel, is it's definitely a lifelong mission. I always say, like, your purpose is like... You ever seen Ready Player One? The film?
Oh, I haven't seen it now.
Okay, brilliant film. Anyway, you understand gaming, yeah? So in games, there's this thing called Easter eggs, and Easter eggs are like hidden like secrets or like gifts or whatever somewhere deep inside
like a
game.
Hunt or something
like a treasure hunt, something that you have to try and find in like a role-playing game or something like that on a PlayStation or whatever. Anyway, the point I'm making about purpose is that I think that in life, I believe that your purpose is like an Easter egg in a game.
Okay.
And so before you're born, God says something to you in a language that only you can understand and tells you the instructions on how to find it. And the rest of your life as you're on earth, you have to spend your time trying to find out what was said to you. And then once you unlock it, the game's... You clock the game.
I've never heard it put like that before.
Exactly.
I've never heard it put like that before. But that's interesting when you say it like that.
So when you look at... Because your purpose, everyone's got a purpose. But you're spending your whole life trying to find out what it is that makes everything else get unlocked for you to do things. Things you'll do for free. Things you'll do without the need to kind of be, praised for it. You just do it because you want to. So anyway, long and short of it, I kind of found my purpose in mentoring that young man. And then again, same thing I said before, when a student is ready, the teacher appears. And I went to a social media event to learn more about how to use social media for inspiring people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was run by the Wall of Comedy, which is Javan Wade's company and the Man Them on the Wall boys and stuff like that. And I knew, but I didn't know because I knew who they were, but they're younger than me. So I hadn't necessarily embraced what they were doing.
Yeah.
So I'd gone there and then I met people that, I'd seen before. And then I started talking to this guy and it turned out to be their head of social media.
Okay.
And then he was like, bro, come and meet me again another day. And I went into the office maybe about 3 weeks later to meet him. And Javan was there. And as I'm walking up the stairs with him, like just randomly, I walked in.
Yeah.
And I'm walking up the stairs with Javan and Purcell, his co-star. And he was like, oh, what you saying, bro? Like, I seen you in there today, like, whatever, what are you doing? And I was just like, man, I've come to meet this person. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm trying to do. And he said, I've just started a podcast with my brother. And or a video series with my brother. And I said,
Ramel, isn't it?
Ramel, Wade's World. And I said, that was like when they first started it. And I said, oh, bro, I'll post that on our website because we had like a little blog going. And he was like, yeah. He was like, thank you, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Like, I said it genuinely, but I was taken aback how, like, kind of...
touched by it.
Yeah. And he was like, do you want to come to my birthday tonight? And I said, okay. So, went to the birthday. And then... Yeah, literally, like from there, we just built this brotherhood. Like so, and that was before he went and did the first purge in America. So while he's out there, like I'm talking to him, I'm praying with him, I'm hearing the stories of what's going on. And then when he came back to London, he said to me, like, I really want to do a film about someone battling with their faith. Like I just feel like I just want to have some film like that. Do you know anyone that's got a story? And if you do, just let me know. And we were having breakfast and like kind of subject changed, and then it just felt like all the lights just shone on me. And in that moment, it was very much just like, yeah, I've got a story. And I told him, And he knew it before, but he hadn't heard it in that way.
Yeah.
And then he just said, "Yeah, I want to make that into a film."
Awesome.
And I thought he was gassing.
Yeah.
And then he just said, "Write down what happened," and the rest is history. You know, I'm skipping obviously a lot, of course. But it's that's how I got here. You know, it wasn't any kind of original agenda for me to start a film.
Of course, yeah.
It wasn't like some, I want to be a filmmaker. I maybe had in my idea of writing a book at one point, but I didn't have any idea that my film would come out and impact millions of people. I had no idea. And so
we got to talk about some of the successes, because I actually didn't initially watch it when it first came out, but looking back, I think 1 million views within the space of 4 days.
We had 1 million in 4 days, which was mind blowing. And real blessing to see it happen and the feedback and just see everyone engage with it. And now we're on probably just under 2.5 million.
Wow.
So yeah, man,
it's been incredibly impactful. Wow,
it's been a good year. It only came out last year, January.
Yeah. I was looking on YouTube when I watched it initially, when it came out. But incredible story, by the way.
Thank you, bro.
I just I guess want to touch on what the future holds. And one question I love asking, it sounds kind of morbid, but if you were looking at your tombstone at your funeral, your soul's looking at your tombstone, what would you want your tombstone to say?
Jeez, that's such a, bro, you asked some good questions today. I like these questions. Whew.
No, it's a big one, but
I know. But the thing is, I know the answer. I just have to word it right. And the reason I know the answer is because I've nearly been there. So in that moment, I was just like, I'm not ready because I haven't achieved that yet. So it's something along the lines of, something like, "Here lies Amani Simpson, father, husband, friend, son, brother, loved a lot of people, served a lot of people, developed a lot of people, empowered a lot of people," something like that. Just something to do with,
it's all about service,
just like helping other people get to where they need to go.
Okay.
I think at that point, once I kind of, once my time's up, I'll know. I'll be ready to go. Not at any time, because there's still things I want to achieve, but there comes a time in life where you just got to be ready to go. Because and that's how I live every day. I just, as much as I'm married now, I didn't mention that before, but I'm married to that young lady who's my girlfriend. But as long as we've achieved what we need to achieve, I'm ready.
You'll be happy.
Yeah, I'll be happy because I want to make sure I bring children into the world and give them the best start and the best environment. But I also want to make sure that anyone that I engage with feels special, feels like they can be absolutely anything. And just not everyone's gonna like you for what you do, but I would like people to respect what I do.
Definitely.
Just know that I did it with a clean heart, and I'm not trying to get on anyone's nerves. So something along those lines.
And as you're talking now, it's I just feel like you've got this calmness about you, like you know who you are, you know what path you're going on. Like you just know what your purpose is in life. So I gauge that because I'm big on like intuition and gut. And even the first time I met you, sometimes when you're at networking events, you just feel like everyone's posturing. It's like, if you're not somebody, I don't really have that much time to speak to you. Whereas when I came up to you, you were like the nicest person. Obviously, you must have gotten so much attention since the film came out. But I just felt like you're the sort of person who will give time to everyone and understand them and actually listen to what they have to say. So I just want to say thank you.
No, I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, and do you know what? That's what I'd love to be known for. Is because I don't do this for fame. I know that the roads and the kind of pathways I'm going to go on will definitely come with fame and fortune and success and achievement and all that stuff, but like that's superficial. It's if I like there's a verse in the Bible that came to mind just now, and I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Bible reader, but there's like, it's something like, what's the point of gaining the whole world and losing your soul? What's the point in having all that success and you're a clown? Like, what's the point? And there's a lot of people like that.
So true.
There's a lot of people that I see them and I'm just like, your soul's empty, big man. Like, you're doing the celebrity thing and that's fine. If that's how you get by. But no, like, I want to be someone of substance because
100%.
I've been given another chance that many people didn't. And I can't take it for granted. So I really appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
Just to finish on, what's your why?
Oh, That's a good question. I was gonna say something smart. Like, why? I was gonna say something smart. Like why not?
Why not?
Yeah. So
you know what? I actually love that.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why. Because
not?
I'm so big on what's that? There's a Will Smith quote which I've sort of started to just live my life by, and I think it goes along the lines of being realistic is the most commonly traveled route to mediocrity. So with everything I do, even like reaching out to you or reaching out to anyone to get them to do my podcast, and someone tells me, "Oh, you can't get him; like, he's too busy." I'm like, "Why not?" So I love that as well, actually, because why not? It's a massive move that I adopt all of my life.
I think it's you know, and I do definitely live by that. I'll probably give you something a bit more easy for the audience to digest. But I'd say something along the lines of just empowering people in general to be the best versions of themselves and just to be as content as possible. And that might sound a little bit cliche, but I think having been on the other side, and especially in school where, you know, I always see it when I drive past, I see you've got a group of people and I see the person on the outskirts, and I always remember that was me. The person just trying to get liked and that's not really living their true potential and being their full self. And so it's just helping those people to find who they are, and then anyone that's on the other side that might be in the group to realize that actually, you know, there's other people in it. There's more things to life than just being the popular person. So
definitely,
I think it's multifaceted what I want to do, and I just want to keep learning. You know, there's so many secrets that I believe will be placed on my heart by my creator, and so I'm just trying to be obedient, just trying to plug in, just trying to hear that, so that you know, when I die, I can hear those famous words, which is, you know, well done, good and faithful servant. Well done, mate. You've done well. You've used the time well. You know, you've been on this earth and you've done something. Now here's the next mission. That's all I'm here to do. So, yeah, that's probably why you see me as being calm, because I'm just It is what it is, man. I'm only here for a period of time. I've got to use my time wisely. So, bro, listen, shoot your shot.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Shoot your shot. Did you see that clip of me with Jamie Foxx and that?
I did.
Yeah,
yes,
so shoot your shot, bro.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason I sent it was
talk about that. Listen,
no, it's all good. It's all good. Like, the reason I even mentioned that is because, again, not boasting, but I just haven't been on like the side of just you're grinding and you want to make something, bro. If you don't shoot your shot, the answer is always going to be no. If you hadn't asked that question, you would never have the content of My Jammer, who's now probably one of the biggest hosts in our nation,
culture right now. Yeah,
in
exactly.
our culture. So, you know, bro.
Definitely, man.
Shoot a shot,
how was it? It's still recording, by the way. Actually, how was it with he's not even here. How was it with meeting Jamie Foxx and Michael B. Jordan? Actually, and where did that happen?
The Houses of Parliament.
Yeah.
It was for their Just Mercy kind of promo tour of their new film, and my mentor and uncle figure is Lord Mike Hastings.
Okay.
Who is just like, he's such a legend. Like, just really loves on young black men in particular, just helping them to reach their potential and just using this platform to do that. So he just brought together like maybe 30 of us in the House of Parliament, in the House of Lords, just for a private kind of session with them. And there wasn't really time to answer any questions, but I knew there was going to be at least one time to ask questions. So I just planned it. I just said in my head, if you get a moment to ask them a question, what would you ask them? And I just literally, like, I saw it. I read the room, and I saw the lady that was on their team saying, "All right, you've got one more point, and then open up to the room." I saw it out the corner of my eye because I was sitting at the back. And then he said, "Okay, Michael, you know, Michael B. Jordan." He's like, you know, so you know, you're quite young or whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm only 30, guys. Like, you know, I'm 32 now." And he's like, man, them, like, what do you want to know? And he's like, and he kept saying it. He was like, "Yeah, like, if you got a question, just ask me. Like, you know, like, I'm not trying to be a superstar, or whatever. I'm here. Like, I could be one of you, man." And everyone kind of hesitated, thinking, is he asking us a question? And then everyone probably started to think, what am I going to ask?
When you'd already
as soon as he said it, like, ask me a question, I just said, all right.
Straight away.
Threw my hand up. And then I think it kind of threw everyone off. And everyone was like, and he was like, all right, you. And then that's when obviously I stood up.
It was a full-on speech, bro.
Yeah, come on, bro. But it was all 40 seconds. I actually looked at it and I was watching the video. I was like, right, I literally said all of that in a minute. That was the elevator pitch. And I think it's just being prepared for that moment. It was, and then to get the selfie that I asked for, everyone like initially laughed. But I knew that and I know, shall I say, that when I do a Hollywood film and it features any one of them, or I meet them again and I'm in certain rooms and I'm like, bro, do you remember me?
Exactly.
No, I don't remember you, bro. There we go.
100%.
And then because I know people that know Michael, and one of the things that person said is that when you meet him again, he will never forget you. And so it's just, how do you make an impact on everyone? And he's another human being.
Exactly.
And so it's just not treating them on some gas thing, which I think some people can do. Just trying to treat them like people that are wise, but just knowing that you've got a space in that room, they just haven't heard about you yet. And so
I love that, by the way.
Yeah. I've got something to add. I'm just not, they've got more years of experience. They've focused on this thing longer than I have, but it doesn't mean that I haven't got stories that they're going to want to kind of get involved in. So it's just being ready for that moment, man.
Have you thought about producing more? I'm surely you have, though.
Bro, I've got films.
Yeah.
I've got films.
Yeah.
I've got short films. I've got feature films. I've got series. I'm going to tell my story in a series next. Not next, but one of my projects.
Definitely.
Because I've seen the power of media. I've seen the power of film. I've seen the power of definitely, as they call it, visual storytelling. And I just want to use it because to be able to tell my story and reach that many people, there's how many other stories that are even more impactful than mine, that someone like myself with the eye that I've got for detail and for giving people's story the real justice. Why not?
Yeah, definitely, exactly. And I almost look at Aviard as like their sort of headline, and then you've got your youth work, you've got Aviard Films, you've got Aviard Audio.
Aviard was always the Aviard group from when I was younger. It was always the Aviard group because property, films, youth work, music. Like this year, we're gonna do a massive talent showcase. Like again, that's why when I say like it can never be an hour, because it's just, it can never be half an hour, because really, if you want, like, if we're gonna talk, like, I'll give it to you, because it's all I do is try and pass on bits of wisdom that will help someone in their journey. So yeah, man.
One question that's come to mind as you're talking now, because I'm just thinking like everything you said, I keep on applying to like myself, and for someone who I would say hasn't quite fully fleshed out my full-on purpose, and I haven't necessarily had a massive inflection point like you have, what advice would you give to someone to really seek it out and do something they really love? Don't get me wrong, I love conversations like this. I'm a curious person. I want to do podcasts, I want to do documentaries, but as far as getting real specific and knowing it's the right path to go on, how would you advise someone to do that?
I guess the thing that comes to mind as you're talking is two things. Number one, what makes you happy? Okay, that's a very key question. What makes you happy? If property makes you happy, then be the best estate agent in the world, or the best, anything that you're doing in property, the best developer. If having conversations makes you happy, then do that. I think as humans, we try and say, you got to be a master at this thing, or jack of all trade, master at none. And that's cool, I think, personally.
What's your view on that question? Sorry to interrupt. What's your view on that question? Because I'm always
you mean
on a master of one or jack of all trades.
I would say jack of all trades.
Okay.
Because I think we are, like, hands are made for working, right? And everything has got a function. And if I just said, I'm an estate agent and that's all I could ever be, that's a fixed way of looking at it. Whereas even today, the session I did earlier was about growth mindset and fixed mindset, and that whole idea of not being fixed in your thinking, but having a mind that can kind of develop and think about the bigger picture. And I would just say to you, like, why can't you be an estate agent that does conversations, that invests in property, that does films? Why can't you? Because all of these different things, all you need to do is just have teams running them. So it's just about making sure that each of these ideas are money making, so that you can then delegate the task to someone that can focus on it. Because
100%.
that's how big entrepreneurs operate. Like Diddy.
None of them just do
one thing.
So true.
And all it is that they are the visionary. They're the one that has the idea, that are creative, and then they say, all right, cool, I'm going to set up a department for that. I'm going to set up a movement for that. And then they just drop in and they just learn how to master spinning plates. So that's what I would say. I'd say that it's not trying to get too prescribed with anything. It's just trying loads of different things out. Obviously not just trying things and failing at them and saying, I give up. It's actually, if it makes you happy and you can see a pathway in it, just pursue it and see how far you go. And then if there's room for it, then just maybe give it to someone else to handle the day-to-day.
Got you.
And keep moving. But I don't see any reason why you can't. We've got 24 hours.
Yeah,
and I think they've worked out if you live for 70 years, I think it's like X amount of seconds. Hold on. Let me tell you. Let me ask Siri.
How many seconds?
How many years? How many seconds is 77 years?
That would be 2,429,885,304 seconds.
So you've technically got 2.4 billion seconds if you're going to live to 77.
Yeah.
So you got to make it count.
There's a lot. That's a lot of seconds.
That's a lot of seconds, but it's not a lot of seconds.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah, I get you.
60 gets used every minute.
I get you.
So you're this is eating away. How many seconds in a day? So you got to make it count. I'm not saying don't sleep, but I'm saying try stuff, man.
That's sometimes what I think though, because I'll take a bit of myself now. What I'm doing now, I've got the podcast I'm trying to start. I've actually got a property business which I'm trying to start as well at the moment.
I will start.
It's already started actually.
There you go.
I've got I basically provide data and buying services to first time buyers and property investors to help them make a more informed decision. So it's kind of prop tech. I sort of scrape data from a few sources, but that requires a lot of time. I love property, but I also love talking to people. And I've always felt, I just feel like if you focus on one thing, like you'll get so much further as opposed to doing this and a little bit. So
I would agree with you. Yeah, I would definitely agree. You do get further.
Yeah.
But then what happens sometimes is you get further in that thing, and then you might look back and say, I should have done that. And then if you're not comfortable with your own self-esteem to go back and try that other thing, then it just becomes something that you never ever tried. So that's why sometimes our parents are really successful in one field, but then look back and it's like, I wish I was this, I wish I was that.
My dad says that all the time.
There you go.
He had to do medicine.
There you go.
And he hates it.
So it's not to say that there's not benefits to that, because obviously he's set up a particular lifestyle and being able to, do what he needs to do. But then to look back and have regrets and say, I never tried it. But the flip side of that is then being a creative and being an entrepreneur is not guaranteed. So you've got to have the backbone for it.
I get you.
You've got to have the backbone. You've got to, what I'm doing now, there's a lot of people that wouldn't want to step in my shoes on a day-to-day basis in terms of the kind of expectation that I put on myself and different engagements that I have. So I can go and have a meeting with a council and it'd be amazing, and they're like, yeah, we love to book you and love to do this. I don't hear anything from them, and you're just like, I've spent 2 hours chatting to you and you've promised me the world, but because of the way that things work, you don't hear back. And so it's there's loads of different situations like that, but I would always say that from my perspective, and where I believe I will be successful is because I've got my hands in quite a few different things.
Of course.
That at the right time I will launch. At the right time I'll focus my energy on, and then kind of give it over to someone else to handle, while I then go back to something else and just learn to juggle those plates and all of that kind of stuff. So
okay,
yeah,
cool. I think that's a perfect note to finish on. Thank you so much, man.
No problem, brother.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so big much. Up the platform as well,
man.
Big up the platform, bro. I'd love to come on here again, man.
Definitely, man. Hopefully do this again soon.
Yeah.